Hey everybody, and welcome. So I wanted to give you guys appearance difference between the Metro Pro versus the Ranger from Cygolite, and this is the 1100 model. This is the 1400 model. And first indication you can see for the Metro series, they have the sticker on the bottom. The Ranger series, the sticker is on the side. So that's the physical difference. So you can see that's the USB port on the back. A lot of people are complaining about this, even on the standard Metro series, that this is kind of easy, just fall off and whatnot, um, or it comes off because people do this, and instead of doing the right way, where basically you just flick it off and then turn it like a clock. See? That's it. You don't need to pull it, yank it out, or do any crazy stuff. You just whoop, boom. It's not that hard. And then put back in, just turn it back and push it in. There you go. It sits in. No biggie. Same thing with this, except this has a flush port now. Just boop and just twist it. This has a flush port, so now the port is actually integrated more into the unit. So now the plug just plugs in through the unit and kind of flushes itself with the entire flashlight. And there's also like a quite large gap, as you can see right there. So now it'll stay into the unit more securely, for the people that are wondering about that. But they're both fine. I've never had any difficulty or problems with this or this my previous ones. They always fit in, never came off, never flew off or anything like that. So yeah. I noticed also the back, as you can see, the back is much more bigger. I'll put them side by side. You can see the back is much more bigger on the Ranger, like it's fatter. And I think that they're using a different battery for the Ranger. So for the standard Metro series and most of their the Plus and other models, they use a 18650 cell built into the flashlight. So that's why this is pretty small and easy to compact with. This, I'm not sure if they're using a same cell, but maybe like foam around it or something, or they're using a bigger cell like the 21700 series light, where it's the bigger kind that's a little bit more wider and it's a little bit more longer to go into this unit. Because you can see, I'll put the difference up and down. you can see that this light is actually longer in the back also, and in the front. And if you look, hopefully I can get this, you can see that it's also wider. And that's because the heat grill system on the side, instead of being like the Pro, where it has a consistent round circle heat grill system, this actually comes out more towards the sides. So it's not as deep inside the plastic housing as the Pro series is. So this actually kind of like tapers outwards. And I think that's because there's a bigger battery in here. So the inside has to taper out more. Because what they do with these, even on the standard Metro series, is they connect the battery. The battery is about that long. Well, maybe about shorter than that. About that long inside the unit. So about 10% of the battery is actually in the metal groove piece with a plastic housing to make it so it doesn't burn up or anything like that. So the same thing here. They have it inside this area right here. So there's a plastic housing to protect it from the heat from when the metal stone piece gets hot. So I think that, like I said, I think it has the bigger battery because of the bigger, wider butt piece and the tapered heat grill system. But I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to disassemble this either. So if you guys want to disassemble it and check that out, that's up to you. But yeah. But it does have a few more heat vents to it compared to the Pro. It has bottom vents on the bottom and then the side. And you also might find this very hilarious, but those two ram airflow heat pieces do not blow off on the sides right here. They don't just suck in and blow through the sides. They actually blow right here. You can see those two little openings. That's for the ram airflow to escape. I know, it's a little hilarious. But yeah. And then I noticed you can't see on the screen. Sorry, my hands are shaking a bit. But you can't notice on the display. Maybe you can. Maybe I can get this correctly. No. Oh. Maybe. No, you're not going to be able to see it very well. Or maybe you can. I'm not sure. But I've noticed with the Ranger has a much more kind of a clearer lens to it. It's not, the Pro has a slight fog tint to it on the lens than the Ranger does. The Ranger has a much clearer lens to it. Maybe it's just because I've had this and I rubbed my finger like that. Maybe it's like that. I'm not sure. But another thing, they do have this slightly wider on the area of effect for when you're pointing the light on something. The beam pattern is slightly wider. I'd say about maybe 10% wider than the Pro series. So I think they have a deeper kind of optic system in here to give it a much more harder throw on the sides and probably more deeper throw on the front compared to the Pro model. Another thing is their LED I believe they're probably using a different LED for this system, and that is a slight greener tint on this LED than on the Pro Series. The Pro Series has a kind of a purplish tint, while this is greenish tint. You're not really going to notice it with just this light, but if you had it side by side compared to two, then you'll be able to notice it. You'll be able to see the difference between the green and the purplish colors. But yeah. Now, feature-wise, pretty much everything has kind of the same kind of mode selection system. You still have the 3 steady modes, and then the steady pulse mode at the end, and then the secondary mode you have all 3 flashes with the walk cycle. So they're both identical in locking system and mode selection system, except the difference between the two is when this turns on, it goes into a low power, and then you select through the system and go to your mode. So you can see when it gets to that secondary mode. For the Ranger though, when it goes to the secondary mode, it flashes, and then you can go to your secondary mode. The cool thing though with the Ranger compared to the Pro or other models is their memory save mode system. They have dual memory save mode system to this, which means that you have the ability to save mode on mode 1 and mode on mode 2. So if I put this on walk cycle, it goes on walk cycle. Now I put it on flash, turn it off, turn it back on, it's now stuck in flash. Now I go to the standard mode, leave it on steady pulse, turn it off, turn it, goes back into steady pulse. It does take a slight second to get into the mode save system, and then it goes. So you can notice that little slight different brightness. So I'll turn it on high to show you what I mean. There you go. You can see that. And then to lock this, they're both the same. You just hold down the button. Actually, that was a fail. You actually have to have the unit on, and then you turn it off, and you hold it until it turns to lock. They'll both blink. Okay, that took a little bit longer to lock. But now it's in lock mode. So they're both in lock mode now. This light, for the indicator light, does not turn on for both of them when they're in lock mode, but they will just flash. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, what if these get left on when they're in lock mode? I mean, that flash is still enabled, so what happens? Well, here we go. They just turn off. They're still in lock mode, so I'll show you what I mean. So to get out of lock mode, you just hold it down until it gets that steady mode that you saw, and then it disables. And there you go. One thing I did notice with the Pro and with the Ranger is the center of the button for the Pro seems more solid. It doesn't, like, it just, I don't know how to describe it, but the center of the button for the Ranger just feels hollow. Like it feels much more, the rubber feels much more squishier in the center compared to the Pro that feels more solid. So I'm not sure what kind of click system they're using with this. But yeah, just either this is just having a smaller amount of space that has to click up and down, and this has more wider piece that has to click up and down. That's probably the difference. Or maybe there's just something else to it. Not really 100% sure, but yeah. So this has dual locking feature modes for different selections. More airflow to the entire system. And a longer design and a bit more fatter on the back. Another thing is when they do mount, they are pretty much identical to being the same way in the front. So the only difference in when it's mounted is, yeah, right there, is the back of the end for the Ranger is going to be sticking out more back than the Pro does. So the Pro is going to have a more frontal heavy center of gravity than the Ranger does. The Ranger is going to sit like this. So I'll show you what I mean. So you can see this is the Ranger, and it sits more kind of back of the unit itself. And there's the Pro. And just a slight note, if you do try and put the Pro on the Ranger, I'm not sure if this is just because of this mount, maybe it's for all the Ranger mounts, but I noticed there's a slight slop in the mount for when you're putting it on with the Pro, but it doesn't have that slop when you have it on the Ranger. And something that a lot of people will complain about that I've seen on reviews for all the Metro series lights and whatnot is people are complaining this doesn't fit on their 31.8 handlebars where the center fat piece does. For other handlebars and whatnot, it does. This is the same way as the BV light does that I have. The way that you would clamp this to your 31.8 handlebar fat area center part of your handlebars is you have to remove these rubber pieces. If you don't, then it's going to be difficult to put them on. So you have to remove the top and bottom rubber pieces, and then you can clamp this onto your 31.8 handlebar pieces and then screw it down. It'll just mount like a standard brake and shifter clamp system. So do only a firm tight. Don't try and like. And another thing, this comes with the Pro model also. I'm not sure if it does with the Plus models, but a lot of people complain about this on the standard Metro series. So I guess they decided to put this on, but there's a rubber piece that they now supply with the exposed screw piece that comes sticking out if you tighten this all the way. So it doesn't look ugly or you scrape your foot or something on top of it. So now it has like a nice little rubber piece. But hey, if your friend doesn't like having the rubber piece on there, or you don't have the exposed screw, you can take off the rubber and give it to a friend that has it more screwed down, and wants it more authentic looking. And there you go. So, that's it for now. I'll see you guys later. Peace, and be cool.